What is up, guys? I hope you guys are having a great day today, and you might be wondering, where the hell have I been? Well, as I explained in my last video, if you watched that, school was starting again, so the time I had to make videos wasn't as much, so I felt that I couldn't produce the content that you guys are used to seeing me do. So for now, I've come up with alternatives on how I produce my videos, so the visuals will be a little bit different. There'll be less action-packed visuals. The build information will be the same. I hope that doesn't really affect the quality of my videos, and hopefully this video will help you. If you play Vayne or if you don't play Vayne, that doesn't really matter, because if you play Vayne, then you can apply the build or apply the tips and tricks, and if you don't play Vayne and you play against Vayne, then you can learn about what Vayne can potentially do based on the kit and the tricks that they can do with Vayne. So watch it either way. There's timestamps in the description, so if you want to skip some parts, go ahead, because when I watch videos I want to skip some parts and get to the point. So if you want to look at the build, it's in the description. If you want to look at the tips and tricks, it's in the description. This video is going to be about Vayne, and I thought, it's season 8, Vayne is pretty much OP right now, so if you have a chance to play her, go for it. And this video is designed to help you learn what build you should use, as well as some tips and tricks which you may not be aware of. Alright, so let's get to it. So the player we are going to be analyzing in this video goes by the name of STAAANGEEEEN. I don't even know how to pronounce it, to be honest, but he is currently ranked 2 in EU West. And I know the season just started, and being top 10 isn't as valued compared to end of season, but nevertheless, he is ranked 2. He has a 67% win rate right now. He's Diamond 1. He was Masters in Season 7, Challenger in Season 6, and Masters in Season 5. So he's a consistent Masters and Challenger player with 80% win rate with Vayne. I know 25 games isn't a lot to determine the win rate and how good you are with that champion specifically, but because he's high elo, because he is a consistent Masters and Challenger player, I figured this would be a good player to analyze. His stats with Vayne, his average KDA is 7.4 kills, 4.8 deaths, 7.4 assists, with an average KDA ratio of 3.07 to 1. Now let's go on to the Vayne build. The summoner spells he takes is Heal and Flash. So, for his precision page, he takes Fleet Footwork, Overheal, Legend Bloodline, and Coup de Grace. For his secondary page, he takes Inspiration with Perfect Timing and Magical Footwear. His skill order is Q, then W, then E, and then he maxes Q first, then W, and then E, as well as leveling up his ultimate whenever he gets the chance to do so. His starting items are Relic Shield, Refillable Potion, and Yellow Trinket. Usually by his first back, he would get a BF Sword. If he doesn't have enough gold for BF Sword, he could get a pickaxe. After this, he would get Infinity's Edge, followed by Berserker's Greaves. If he doesn't have enough money for Infinity's Edge, it would be the reverse, so it would be Berserker's Greaves and then Infinity's Edge. He does upgrade the Relic Shield, and he upgrades it to Targon's Brace. Usually this happens before 15 minutes, and when it gets upgraded, depends on usually how much gold he has. It could be after his first complete item, or after his second complete item. So after he gets Berserker's Greaves, Infinity Edge, and Targon's Brace, he would then get Zeal, and finish that with Static Shiv. Following Static Shiv, he would usually get Rapid Fire Cannon. Also, at level 9, he would switch to Blue Trinket. So his core items are Berserker's Greaves, Infinity Edge, Static Shiv, and Targon's Brace. Rapid Fire Cannon is usually part of the core items, but an alternative item could be in place, such as Phantom Dancer, where the damage reduction and the increased mobility near enemies may be more useful than having an increased auto attack range. So if the enemy team has heavy crowd control, you'd get Mercurial Scimitar or Quicksilver Sash. If they have a lot of AD, or if they have an assassin who's an AD assassin, then Ninja Tabi would be a recommendation. Blade of the Ruin King would be for more sustain. However, in your rune page, Legend Bloodline does increase lifesteal, so bear that in mind, as well as Fleet Footwork does give some health back, and your Targon's Brace does give you some health back, but nevertheless, Blade of the Ruin King is an option. Lord Dominic's Regards for extra armor penetration, or Mortal Reminder if the enemy team has a lot of healing, or if the enemy team receives a lot of healing, such as from Soraka. The optional items usually is more than the core items, it depends on the circumstances. The way you should approach every game is build accordingly. I know this has been said by almost everyone, but it really does make a difference. If you don't have armor penetration and the enemy team has a lot of tanks, you're not going to kill them as fast as you should. Having a QSS could be key in team fights. You could be in a late game situation where the last fight determines the outcome of the game, and if you had QSS and you used it appropriately, you could have led the team to victory. So please build according to what the enemy team has. Now let's go on to the tips and tricks of Vayne. Vayne's tips and tricks are typically well known, so if you are a Vayne main or a Vayne one trick, you probably know most of this or all of this. This is mainly for the newer players who play Vayne or who want to learn Vayne. The first tip is to remember that Vayne's E does proc the W passive. So if you have 2 basic attacks, you can proc the 3rd attack with your E, which gives you the bonus attack damage from your W's passive. So that could be key if you're trying to push back an enemy, if you're trying to kite and the enemy has a gap closer. Another tip involving Vayne's E is that you can E flash and change the angle of where your opponent goes. So in my examples in this video, you can see how if I E from one direction, it follows the line of attack so the enemy gets pushed backwards. Whereas if I E and flash to a different angle, the new location where the enemy champion will follow the line of attack after I flashed. This can be useful when using your condemn or E to stun an opponent. Also, you could use your E and flash in a different way where you can flash away to increase the gap between you and your opponent. So instead of you doing it to maneuver yourself and get a stun on terrain or a wall, you could instead do it to increase the distance between you and your opponent. Also with Vayne's E, remember that you can use your E to push away enemy champions if they perform an ability which is a gap closer. So for example, you can use your condemn or your E to stop an Alistar headbutt. So E can be used in an aggressive and a defensive way, so keep that in mind. Another tip about Vayne's Q is that normally Vayne's Q has an animation and you can decrease the animation time by using your Q on terrain or a wall. So in this example, you could see me using my Q without a terrain or a wall compared to using it against the terrain or a wall. With attack speed items, the difference is much more obvious, which is why in my example I've added items to show you the difference. Also, another tip is that with Vayne's ultimate, her Q does grant her invisibility for 1 second. This may not sound like a long time, but in team fights and in a game such as League of Legends where a second can make a difference in a fight, it can confuse the enemy and it can take away attention from you. The way I think of it is with Kane's ultimate, he is invulnerable for a period of time, right? So usually if the enemy Kane uses their ultimate, your team would have a choice to wait for the Kane to come out of the ultimate and then focus him, focus someone else, or focus someone else and then switch focus towards Kane, right? So the same principle applies with Vayne, where if you use your ultimate and then you Q, the enemy team can choose to either wait for you to come out of invisibility or switch targets and focus someone else on your team. Also, with your ultimate on and using tumble, you can move further away from your opponent or closer to your opponent and surprise them. In this example, I use a Vayne player called Foxdie, who's top 10 in NA right now. He uses his ultimate and Q to decrease the distance between him and Tristana, leading to Tristana reacting too late, therefore securing Vayne the kill. And because the enemy AD carry was killed, the rest of the team fight was pretty easy, which led to them winning the team fight. So my point is, you can really utilize Vayne's Q with her ultimate on and make a difference in a team fight and catch people off guard. So that's all the tips and tricks that I have for Vayne. Hopefully with Vayne being a very strong pick right now, with these tips and tricks and the build, you can hopefully climb with Vayne. And with the new season out now and with the new rune changes, if you want to stay updated with the latest champion builds from the highest ranked players, then subscribe to my channel. Also, on a side note, I stream occasionally. I stream League of Legends and Overwatch, so if you are interested in having a chat or just watching me play, click on the link in the description and follow me. Other than that, subscribe and stay tuned for more videos.